cooking healthy meals and gathering my family around the table each day is a huge priority of mine as a mom because I know just how important it is to our family culture, but also just quite literally nourishing our bodies. I also know that this is no small feat. It really is a big undertaking, and I wanted to share with you guys how I've been approaching it a little bit differently recently. So grab yourself a cup of tea and let's chat how I'm making this more feasible for myself in this busy season. As a mom who is also a dietitian, I have such a heart for encouraging families to sit down at the dinner table for family dinner. Gathering together for a meal is something that we as humans have done for centuries. And it can have such an impact because it obviously can nourish your body via the food, but also coming together can be so nourishing for the soul. Roughly 50% of Americans do not sit down for family dinner regularly, and this just breaks my heart, both from a nutrition standpoint, but also just as a mom. A study done in 2022 that looked at this found that the frequency of family meals was positively associated with improved food consumption patterns. Basically, both adults and children who sat down for dinner more often ate better. They consumed more fruits and vegetables and less sweets. So there's benefit on the food side of it, but also the emotional, social side of it. Some of the top benefits for family mealtime are a reduction in stress, connecting with other people, and taking time to slow down. And I don't know about you, but doesn't that sound like just the antidote for our modern life? In a survey that was also done in recent years, 91% of parents surveyed noticed that their family was less stressed when they frequently shared family meals together. Now, there are different factors that prevent families from coming together around the table and sharing that meal. And one of the major ones is having the systems and the skills in place to actually execute it. The importance of eating real food simply just cannot be overstated. And you guys have heard me share this before, but when you think about food and how much, like the sheer quantity of food you consume at the frequency that we consume food, that is such a major player when it comes to our health. And when you pair that with all of the social and emotional benefits of coming together for a meal, this is something that you should absolutely fight for to make a thing in your family. So I want to talk about the food side of things in this video, how to actually execute it and get the meals on the table, because that is absolutely half the battle. I have personally been playing around with changing my approach to meal planning. If you guys know me, follow me, you know that typically I am a very traditional meal planner. I will sit down with a notebook, with maybe my laptop with blogs or Pinterest open, or cookbooks that I will, leaf through to get ideas, and I will come up with a list of meals for the week or however long, and then figure out, what I need to get from the store, based on what I already have, so that I am set to cook all those meals for the week. I do love this method. I find it to be very efficient. I personally love that you can do all of the thinking at one point and not really have to, like, the rest of the week or however long can just be on autopilot. But I know that not everybody works that way. Just talking to other moms, I know that a lot of times they can feel like chained down to a meal plan, or what happens if something changes in the day and I can't be home to make that meal that I planned, or I forgot to defrost the meat. So what do? Order a pizza? And it's like, no. So I love this idea of reverse meal planning. It's something that I have personally been experimenting with, and it's very different because instead of starting with the meal ideas and going from there, you start with what you have on hand, come up with a meal idea from that, and it's kind of working backwards. And then if you're anything like me and you forget what you cook half the time, you can then write down, whether it's on just a piece of paper in your planner. I have this little tiny book that I grabbed that's like a tiny calendar book, and you can keep track of all of those meals that you're making so that if you want to go back and make it again, it's written down so you won't forget it. So it's a little bit of a shift in terms of the planning, because instead of planning specific meals and then shopping for the ingredients you need for those specific meals, you are basically planning how to stock a well-rounded pantry that's going to provide you a lot of cooking staples week in and week out, so that you can make simple meals from those foods. Keeping your pantry stocked with those basic essentials for healthy cooking is one of the most important ways to make it actually feasible to be cooking from scratch and making those healthy homemade meals for your family. And one of my favorite ways to stock my personal healthy pantry is with Thrive Market. Thrive Market allows you to shop for high quality groceries, but without paying the premium price tags. Shopping with Thrive can help you to save money, but without compromising on the quality that you're looking for. They have a list of 1,000 ingredients that they do not allow in the products that they carry on their site, which really just narrows it down and makes shopping for healthy groceries that are wholesome, made with quality ingredients, just that much easier. They also have deals daily on top brands that we all love. Plus, if you don't make your membership cost back in savings, Thrive will actually credit it to you. They really just make it easy to shop with confidence for those higher quality products, whether you're looking for low sugar, high protein, organic, or if you have different dietary restrictions, you can filter by all of that on the site to just make shopping super quick and simple. One of my personal favorite features is the Buy Again section, because it just pulls up all of my personal favorite products that I like to repeatedly order so I can keep them stocked in my pantry, because I'm always reaching for them when I'm cooking healthy meals. And you just can't beat the fact that it comes straight to your door. It could not be more convenient for all of my fellow busy moms out there. So whether you're stocking up on healthy pantry staples or snacks for your kids to take to school or for road trips or for whatever else, Thrive Market is just such a great option. So if you guys want to check it out for yourself, I will leave my link down below. Just go to thrivemarket.com/Becca Bristow. That will give you 30% off your first order plus a free gift. Plus, they have their healthy reset sale going on right now. So it's a great time to sign up and get even more discounts on some of your most favorite healthy groceries. This method really is so simple. I actually feel like it takes even less thought, because I have found, while I always thought this was going to be more difficult because I'd have to think about it and make the decisions and be creative every day, I have found, since I'm kind of like put in this box of like, all right, what am I gonna do for dinner tonight? I end up making a lot more simpler meals. Not that I would cook elaborate things before, but instead of making like a traditional recipe, like putting together a lasagna for dinner, I might just literally make meatballs and roast up some veggies to eat on the side. It's just simple food. It's not actually a recipe. It's not actually a traditional dinner, if you will, but it's real nourishing food that's going to feed the bellies of my family. And it's something that I was able to throw together pretty easily. So that's probably the biggest benefit that I've found. It's just giving me a simpler mindset when I'm approaching food, because when I have the time to sit down and look through the recipe books, I feel like I get a little bit more ambitious because I get excited and I want to make things because I love good food. But on a day in and day out basis, when life is busy and we've got things going on and I'm pretty tired when 4:30, 5 o'clock rolls around and I don't necessarily really want to cook, but I will. It's nice to just have a more simple, like, I'm not here to perform and make anything special. I'm just here to make a tasty dinner that's going to fill bellies, and it doesn't have to be anything that's too thought out or too fancy. As you get into cooking, you quickly figure out the things that you like to have on hand, whether it's meats or vegetables or dairy or, different canned goods, even spices. Like, what your go-tos are, and you can get in the habit of keeping them in stock. So whether you buy in bulk, so, you're buying a lot at once, it's going to be in stock for a while. Or if you just have this kind of rotational grocery list, when you're going to the store every week, or you're placing an order for healthy food, you are just repurchasing those basic essentials that you always want to have stocked. And what's wonderful about this is the seasons can really influence you as well. This is actually one of the main reasons I decided to try this summer, because I really wanted to take better advantage of all of the wonderful, abundant produce, both from my garden or from, local farmers markets. I think it's much easier to incorporate fresh produce when you don't have like a rigid plan already set. I know with my garden this summer, I had a bunch of eggplants and I'm like, okay, what am I gonna make with eggplants? And normally I wouldn't plan a bunch of eggplant dishes, but it allowed me to kind of be creative and use what I had and take advantage of that seasonal produce. This is also a great way to save money and also really get high nutritional impact, because when you're eating fresh vegetables that were grown locally, that haven't been traveling for miles and miles and sitting for many, many days, you're going to get not only produce that's going to cost you less, but it's going to be even more robust when it comes to that nutritional value. I have made in the past kind of like a pantry staples document, which I can link down below for you guys. I also think it's really helpful, at least I know for me, because when I'm thinking of like, okay, I'm coming up with an idea like out of thin air every single day, that to me makes me feel a little overwhelmed. And that's why I always love to have like a meal plan thought out. So while I've been more cooking on the fly, I do love the idea of like templates in my mind. So if I'm trying to come up with what we're gonna have for dinner, maybe it's something as simple as like, all right, I'm gonna make some kind of protein and we're gonna have some kind of starch. Maybe it's rice, maybe it's, roasted potatoes. And then whatever veggie I have in the fridge, broccoli, cauliflower, asparagus, string beans, whatever, I will roast that on the side. And again, it's just simple. It's just real food. It's not an exact recipe. It's nothing fancy, but it'll work. I also personally love like bowl meals. So something as simple as like a starch and a meat. So it could be like rice and ground beef, or it could be potatoes and ground beef. Could be easily made into a burrito bowl or a burger bowl. I love like making like a Greek chicken bowl. And the magic here is really like having stuff in your fridge to make quick sauces or toppings. So for example, burrito bowls, I always keep salsa and cheese and, jarred jalapenos, avocado, all of that kind of stuff on hand to just throw on top. Sometimes pickled onions if I have those. And it's a way to take something so basic like beef and rice and turn it into this like layered, delicious meal that everyone can kind of customize. I always keep things like mayo and sour cream and like whole milk Greek yogurt in my fridge, because that's an easy way to throw together different sauces. And then if you keep some kind of fresh herbs, this time of year is great because there's herbs growing right outside. So I can use cilantro and dill and, parsley and just really add that depth of flavor. But you can also just buy these from the store, stick them in water in a mason jar and just put them in your fridge. They're going to last a really long time, where you will be able to be cooking with fresh herbs all the time before that actually goes bad. Maybe you want to do some kind of crock pot meal once or twice a week. Maybe you want to do like a slow cook every Sunday. So you can kind of get in these rhythms that take a lot of the thought out of it, or at least kind of bring your mind down to like a smaller thought process so it doesn't feel so overwhelming. This has truly been such a fun experiment that I've done over the last few months. I feel like I have come up with so many more meal ideas, even though I'm like never really looking through blogs or opening up, a cookbook. And I will say, sometimes I do still search, like if I'm looking like, okay, I'll search like, okay, I have potatoes and I have, a bunch of broccoli and I have chicken thawed in the fridge, and I'll kind of like Google like recipe with these things. And that will at least give me like a starting place. Maybe I don't like actually pull up a recipe I'm going to make, but it'll give me ideas of like, oh, I could cook this. I could, shred the chicken. I could, roast the potatoes and then do smashed potatoes. Maybe we'll make a little sauce on the side, and it just kind of gets my gears turning. Another thing is there is less food waste, because when you go from making specific meals and outlining them ahead of time, unless you're really on it, which you might be, you're probably not accounting for these random little bits of leftovers you're going to have from those meals. So, the next day, if you still have a bunch of zucchini that you didn't finish up from that meal the night before, you can chop that up and use it a different way. Maybe you're gonna saute it, maybe you're gonna roast it, maybe you're gonna just like mix it into like a Mexican burrito type bowl, something like that. So you can, again, using what you have, you can actually use up all those little odd bits and ends in your fridge and come up with tasty meals without anything. I shouldn't say without anything, because I'm not perfect and things still go to waste, but you know what I'm saying. So that is how I have been going about the planning and the cooking of the meals in my home recently. No matter how you go about it, whether you go the more traditional meal planning route, and that's not to say that I won't go back to doing that in certain points in time, but whether it's going the more traditional route or cooking more on the fly with what you have, the most important thing here is just to stay one step ahead. So maybe you get 7 steps ahead and you plan the whole, week of meals out ahead of time. Or maybe you just get 1 step ahead by thinking at lunchtime, okay, what are we gonna have for dinner? Do I need to take anything out to defrost? Or better yet, pulling out several cuts of meat at the beginning of the week, sticking them all in the fridge so you know you've got meat defrosting. But just staying a little bit ahead is what makes this so much more doable, because you won't find yourself in a pinch with nothing planned, nothing to do. At least you won't very often. And in those cases, breakfast for dinner always works. I hope that you guys have found this video helpful, especially for all of my fellow moms out there who aren't into traditional meal planning. For the longest time, I thought that this method would not work for me, but again, it has been such a fun experiment, and I feel like I've really learned a lot. And it has allowed me to, in a way, simplify a process that allows my family to gather around the table, to share a meal, to share about their day, and to create that sacred space that is so nourishing, not only to our bodies, but also our souls as well. Thank you guys so much for joining me here in my cottage kitchen. I hope that you are walking away feeling inspired to gather that family of yours around the table, because it truly is so important. If you have yet to subscribe to my channel, I would love for you to join my little community here on YouTube, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.